everything just started to go wrong right from the off, really. And I remember Beth, she was having her contractions, took to a side room. It was getting late in the evening at that point, told that if she wanted to stay there, she was going to have to be quiet. She was then moved on to an epidural, and it failed, and we were trying to say desperately it was not working. She wasn't listened to, and things just continued to go wrong. We were worried about baby Robin inside, and what had happened was a serious injury occurred, and it led to her losing over half her blood. They got her and they took her to the theatre, and they chucked me in a room and they said, put these on now, put these scrubs on now. I had no idea what was happening. And then we were taken to the theatre, and within maybe 10, 20 minutes, baby Robin, he was here. He was in a sorry state, bless him. He was here with his daddy.
He was injured as well during the birth?
It was difficult for him, and I had him, and I thought I was going to be a single dad. There was then teams rushing around Beth to save her. She'd lost so much blood. A really difficult thing for my trauma has been the blood aspect to it, and hearing the anaesthetists that were on the phone to Leeds Blood Bank, and I was sat here like a bystander at the back on a chair, and they were debating, is there enough time to get her exact blood match because she's lost so much? Things like that. Your whole life's playing in front of you. Am I going to be looking after him on my own? Are they going to do it? And they weren't telling me any of what was happening. I was just left. And it was hours and hours in there. And a lot of the lights, the incandescent light of the theatre and the place, it's very triggering. And I would talk about the positive journey I've been on, but you feel that traumatic pain. I feel it now, recounting it to you. I'll always remember I think is it swabs and tissues and things, they weigh the blood loss, don't they, and they measure it. They put that on the scales. And then they weighed Robin on those same scales, and it was just such a horrific juxtaposition. I felt worthless, how they treated me. I felt as though I had no physical injuries to me. I didn't physiologically play a part in the birth. My wife has got her own traumas, but I felt as though I was worthless. And it was even things like saying, I want to stay with her. She couldn't pick him up. It was so difficult. I want to stay with her. And these hospital maternity wards, they're not set up for non-birthing partners' dads. They're not set up for it. Fighting for a chair, fighting for somewhere to stay next to my son.
Because you are the advocate, and when things go wrong during a birth, you are the carer, you are the primary carer for your baby if your partner is physically unable to, and you are unsupported.
I felt I wasn't supported, so I couldn't support Beth.
Yeah.
And I think the way she was treated, I say, was medieval. And the fact that I was abandoned made things worse for her. And it was a really difficult moment. I've never shared this before. I left LGI a couple of days after, and I just thought, I can't go on. But I knew I could.
Yeah.
I knew I could, because what we were so lucky about was that bond we had with him. And Robin is a very special boy, and we'll talk about what's happened since, but he was named after a wonderful religious studies teacher I had at school, Robin Parmiter. He was just a wonderful soul and got me through tough times in my own growing up. And maybe that was part of it. But I did have a very dark moment, but I knew I had to carry on.
Luke, a lot of the inquiries and reports, investigations do focus on mothers and babies, and
That's right. It's right.
rightly so. But Donna Ockington, after the Nottingham inquiry, in her report, talked about secondary victims, fathers, partners, those caught up in the ripple effect of birth trauma. One of her urgent and essential actions was support for secondary victims, largely ignored, an experience you have lived through. And this is something you want to champion as well.
It's right from the off. It's having that presumptive right to be there. Is that so much to ask? That I had to advocate for life-saving medical care for my wife. I deserve to be there, not to be turfed out. Why couldn't there be some sort of bed on that ward for a dad or a non-birthing partner to stay? Why wasn't there someone that just thought about non-birthing partners and just came up to me? Why wasn't there mental health first aid for me? I could have got through. You never get through it. You never completely heal over this. But that journey for me would have been a lot easier if I have had some support from the trust and in those early days, and mental health first aid is a phrase, isn't it? Why wasn't there a champion for me?
There is this attitude, and it permeates through all the inquiries and reports, that if no one dies, you're okay. Off you go. You deal with it yourself. How important is it that that changes? Because while a life might not have been lost, what you as a family and thousands of other families have gone and are going through is life-changing.
One of the things that I'm calling for is health visitors. Check in with that non-birthing partner, especially after a traumatic birth. I became withdrawn from family and friends for some months after. And it was that bond and love of Robin and my wife that kept us going. But if only I'd have just been put on a track to having some of that talking therapy and things like that early on. Some of the support from therapy I got to deal with trauma was fantastic. The horrific moment I talked to you about, where I was holding my boy thinking I'm going to be a single dad, I believed that to my core, but that was a possibility. You can never shake off that. But through therapy and talking, we realised something so obvious, that it was a positive moment and that all he knew at that point was his daddy, and that I was there for him. And so getting support early, it's just so important, and at the right time as well.
Yeah. So many families are calling for a statutory public inquiry. They're saying enough. You know, we've had different inquiries into different trusts. We've now had this national report, but there's been no accountability from those in positions of power, those in NHS management, those in regulatory bodies, those that are there to provide safe care. Over 800 babies die every year unnecessarily, and families don't get any answers, let alone any justice. So many families are saying, we have to have a statutory public inquiry to address that. Do you support that?
I think one of the positives in the report was that there should be these no cover-ups and there should be a right to an independent review. We felt, and we'll feel this to our last days, Beth and I, that things were deliberately covered over. And I don't want to talk about some of the medical details, but we thought a lot of the horrific stuff was papered over. On a statutory public inquiry, you know, in politics, you know, my constituents will come to me and they'll call for it on XYZ topic. But the shoe's on the other foot now. And I just think the system's so fundamentally broken. I don't think Amos got to everything, and I think we need some accountability.
Well, Luke, can I thank you for telling your family's story? I think it is so important and your voice so powerful in this space, and please pass on our thanks to Beth as well. And I know that Robin, now 4, is doing really well, and Louis as well, turning 1
He's
this
turning 1.
Turning
so we're
1
doing
this
my
weekend.
first rodeo for him. But can I thank you, Sarah Jane, because your empathy to me has meant that I've been able to share this, and as you can probably tell, it's healing for me, but it's hopefully means that someone, maybe a dad listening in, knows they're not alone.
Well, that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about talking, it's about conversation and being heard. So, Luke, thank you so much, and our very best to your family.